If he's recording it, I guess. Not there.
She's there.
No, he said, but.
He's there.
Oh, that's up to it.
אולי נעשה את זה לפי איך שמדברים.
Greetings, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning, Avi. Is Sорין with us?
We are waiting for Eddie and Sורין. You hear me?
No, can you speak up?
I'm gonna try one more time with a
We
different.
are waiting for Sורין and Eddie. Okay, and then we'll start.
Good morning, Melinda. Bobby. Hey, Deborah.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, how are you?
We'll see.
Yeah, same. Hey, Madeline.
Morning, Rob. I can't get my video working. This is
that
Courtney.
Courtney? Hey,
Yeah.
Courtney.
Hey, baby, lie down. Lie down.
I think I might try to rejoin with a different computer. So
Okay.
I'll try that.
Okay, lie down. That's my girl. You have to lie down. Okay, lie down. Do it. Lie down. Lie down, baby.
Are you talking to me, Ann?
Talking-
Sורין? איפה אתם?
Oh, there are.
איזה שעה? מה כתוב עליי? כן, יש לי. אוקיי, אני פותח לכם. אוקיי, תגיעו למוזיאון, בסדר? אנחנו ממתינים לכם. בבקשה, ביי.
How do you switch chat to everyone after you've done a private?
אתה מנהל את הזום, מישהו שרוצה להצטרף.
אז צריך תשבי פה.
לא, אתה תשב פה, אני אשב פה.
Regular, every.
אני אהיה אישה פעלה.
תעשי תאשרי.
אני אהיה אישה פעלה. לא מבינה איך רואים.
Hey, Courtney.
Hi, I made it.
I never thought 9 a.m. was so early, but it really is.
טוב. זה אמור להיות לפי מי שמדבר. זה אמור להיות מי שמדבר. עכשיו צריך לדבר לכיוון המחשב.
אוקיי, כך.
אולי נגביר את המיקרופון.
בסדר, אוקיי.
Hi, Ruben and Yehudit. I just noticing. Hi.
שלום, שלום לכולם. היי, אבי.
Hi to everybody.
לא, פתאום זיהיתי אותך, אבי.
כן.
לא,
השתנתי, יהודית.
לא, ממש לא השתנית. עוד מבצלאל.
לא, השתנתי דווקא.
איך לטובה?
לא נראה.
כן.
אז מה הנושא שלו? יהודית, אנחנו ממתינים לסורין ולאיפרגן, ואז נתחיל בשיח שיהיה בחלקו בעברית ובחלקו באנגלית. ננסה ככה לנצח על שתי המקהלות.
אבי, אולי תדבר עוד קצת, כי לא שמעו אותך קודם?
שומעת אותי עכשיו?
עכשיו כן.
אוקיי. איפה שנוח לך?
You have it on my screen.
כן. לא, זה לא פיוטר, זה בודי. Okay, welcome to everybody. Do you hear me, Robin?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But I don't see you.
Good.
Anyway, welcome to everybody, all the Israeli visitors, the artists. We are here with Ipergen, Sורין and Yehudit Sessportas. And we will start with a description of the idea behind all the process of creating this exhibition. So, Ruben.
Oh, that's okay. Thank y'all for everything. And please allow me to express my enormous thanks to each of you who are on this Zoom from around the world. I'm going to be reading a little bit in order to minimize my jitters and to save time. So to artists, supporters, curators, museum team, and family and friends, the success of this phase of Memory Project is due to each of you. Hopefully, these thanks and a quick overview of Memory Project will provide the infrastructure and fill in some blanks so everyone can better understand how we even arrived here today. Our generous patrons trusted in the process that was a start and go all the way, and their patience was truly amazing, as was the artists' flexibility, particularly those from New Orleans, we started with 4 abundance crates of work, 4 crates filled with artist work from New Orleans that had to be last minute consolidated into flat, small works from New Orleans. Because of COVID, because of Russia, it was consolidated at the last minute, and everyone really adjusted without any judgment on me, which I truly appreciate. And Sórinn, I'm going to thank you first. Backwards, put the structure into how we got here today. Sórinn Heller jumped in midstream after a major disruption forced Memory Project to cancel. His calm nature and professionalism guided me for over 2 years. He miraculously remained within a very modest budget, despite COVID setbacks and his own health risks. Sórinn chose Israeli and Palestinian artists for their valuable insight about places of memory and trauma, whose works paired seamlessly with the work of artists from New Orleans and Lodge, who had completely disparate backgrounds. And it's Sórinn who introduced Memory Project to Avi, director of Bar David Museum. Avi and your team did wonders. Thanks for welcoming Memory Project into your beautiful museum and for creating the title, Avi, of In Search of Lost Memory. For your countless hours that you spent organizing and hanging an impeccable exhibition and producing an amazing catalog designed by one of the exhibition artists, Ashraf Fakari. Is that how you say it? Fakari? Fakari, Avi?
Sorry?
How do you say Ashraf? And thanks to Ashraf for providing your beautiful design talents and your powerful painting. Without a friend who's no longer here, may his memory be a blessing, Vic Hoffman, he on his own, without asking me or worrying me, he reached out to a prominent Israeli gallerist who then reached out to Sórinn because Vic realized that our project had been canceled at the last minute in 2019. And it was Vic Hoffman in Israel who drove from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv to find someone interested in relaunching Memory Project. So the entire endeavor began with trust and understanding between 2 very special strangers. Skareki Levy, my mom, who lives in New Orleans, her phenomenal trust, and then Marta Medeska, whose deep empathic understanding connected with me and my mother. Mom, a Holocaust survivor who immigrated to New Orleans, wanted to return to her birth city, Lodge, for the first time in 73 years. And Marta, a PhD student of memory studies, enthusiastically replied to my random email seeking professional partnership in Lodge. I explain my desire to connect mom's history with the current citizens in mom's birth city without them experiencing a victim tour. Marta immediately understood the complexities and layers of memory associated with places where trauma has occurred, and the risks of bringing mom back to Lodge. So after months of discussing the theme of collective trauma in place, we chose to highlight childhood memory, happy memories before the war. And we used these childhood memories as source material for participating published artists. We combined mom's one happy pre-war memory of getting ice cream and balloons on Sunday with her father, with oral histories Marta had already collected from the elders about their World War II childhood, to eventually share with the Polish artists. Marta then gathered interested people from her enormous creative circle in Lodge for my visit to Lodge in April of 2012 with my American nephew Sean and Israeli niece Ruth, who I enlisted for both of their insights so the next generation could inform our decisions. An initial group gathered in Adam's, is Adam on the call? So Marta, can you pronounce Adam's gallery? It's Adam's Gallery in Lodge.
Galeria Wschodnia.
Okay.
Galeria Wschodnia.
Thank you. So this is Marta, and she's the miraculous initial partner who made our exhibition a success in Lodge. So she got together with Adam and they hosted us so we could brainstorm in this gallery, which began memory projects taking shape. Adam was generous with his gallery, which is where we hosted the physical space of artists' work. And then altogether, Memory Project Phase 1 was the magical commemorative experience. It became a grassroots series of events, including an exhibition at Adams, a community outdoor film screening, thanks to Piat for his elegant film that we screened outside in front of a huge apartment building with hundreds of people looking on and hundreds of people in the streets watching Piat's amazing melancholy film. Then we also organized a performance, an interactive performance inside the shuttered building that the film was projected against. And in addition to all of these things, for mom's sake, we also made sure to provide a traditional memorial tribute for her and her family at the Merrick Edelman Holocaust Memorial Park. When I originally reached out to Marta, I had mentioned that we in New Orleans have our own history of traumatic legacies. Our trauma, it comes from very different sources. It's albeit very different kind of trauma than I was bringing mom back to in Poland. So we brought the Polish artists to New Orleans, and together with Deborah Loster and Courtney Egan, we combined the Polish work and the New Orleans artists who spoke beautifully and poignantly about New Orleans' own legacy of trauma. If it were not for these grassroots engagements in both Lodge and New Orleans, the success of this would not have happened. It was the fiscal agent of Antenna in New Orleans that helped pull all of this together. And it was community artists like Elizabeth Shannon in New Orleans who brought food into the mix and allowed New Orleans artists to share cultural identities, and Polish artists share their cultural identities through food. And then we are now here with 3 additional New Orleans artists, Carl Joe Williams, John Isaiah Walt, and Luis Cruz Apatita, which the Israeli curators chose these works from these additional artists to show a fuller view of the work coming out of the city that reflects New Orleans' complicated history of trauma. So I hope that gives a quick overview and I didn't take too much time.
Okay, thanks. I see some people joined to this talk and they supported all this exhibition and the catalog. And I save this moment to thank them, thanks for them. And Sורין, רוצה לומר משהו?
Hi, Robin.
Hi, Sורין. Great to see you.
Already past more than 2 years. So first of all, I want to thank all the artists and all the others who help bringing up this exhibition and to thank you for your trust on me and on Abby, and because we never met, just the day, 2 days before the exhibition was open, and thank you for what you all have done. And as I told you on my first mail, you got a great idea for an artistic event, referring to memory and then referring to identity, and which is a diverse issue in each country, and connecting them together. I think it should be another stage of this exhibition in future. It was really a great idea, and I became enthusiastic on this first moment I wrote your words. So here we are, and it's almost the end, no?
Yeah.
It's almost the end, half a year of our journey, and I don't want to talk about the exhibition because there is a catalog, it's a very nice catalog, referring to each artist and each work. But the outcome that we see now is not only speaking about identity and memory, but as Abby told me from the beginning, it's a political exhibition. But this, as memory, is late. It's not a placard exhibition. And in these days, it's really very actual. My job was to choose a work, to select the work, and we have been through a lot of selections of works all the time, but we arrived at the stage with this wonderful pieces from the New Orleans and Dutch artists and Polish artists. Just now a sentence in Warsaw. And of course, the Israeli artists. It's hard for me to lead this exhibition. I live it. It was my life for 2 years. Yes, yes. But I think we have diverse attitudes to our memory and identity, and I think artists should tell more about it than me. So thank you all, and thank you, Robin, and best thank Abby, because Abby really did a job. From the beginning, he believed in us, and all we see, all was done, all the exhibition, all the logistical things, all the day out of the exhibition, and all the catalog, it's Abby. Without Abby, really. Thank you, Abby.
Thanks, but I would like to put to confront the works of Debora Lostel. Do you hear me? Yeah. Debora Lostel, and the way she dig into the archives of the police and confront it with the works of Hadar Gad, which is digging the surface of the canvas. So two ways of evoking the memory. Hadar Gad, she created memory, or she painted the memory on the surface of the painting by using several layers of paint, and by scraping the surface, she evoked the image. And Debora Lostel, if she is with us, I would like to hear her process. If this is if it is this way that she is working usually with archives. Is she with us?
I'm here. I can't really. Were you talking to me?
I'm talking to Deborah. Yes, Deborah.
That's me.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm having.
Okay.
I have an.
Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
I have an old computer and I can't hear it too well. I can't understand too well, but I just seeing you all there. The people of Israel have been on all of our minds, and we're just really praying that all of this is resolved in favor of democracy and the people there. I can't imagine what you are all going through. So anyway, what was the question?
I would like to know exactly the process of the way you work. I mean, you create images according to the, information from the archives. So, and then you are going and trying to find the places when have been murdered.
Oh, yeah.
And,
well,
and I'm curious if it is the way, this is a conceptual way of your work. Or...
Okay, I think I got it. The Tooth for an Eye, which is the homicide project, is really the sister project to an earlier project, which was another archive. And I was concerning myself with the consequences of violence. And so the first project was a very long project where I photographed portraits of inmates in Louisiana. It was called One Big Self. So it was an archive of images of inmates, prisoners that volunteered and posed themselves. And then I returned images to them. And so that was the first part. And then so the Tooth for an Eye, the homicide sites are sort of a sister project to that earlier project. And so my process was that I would go through the Times Picayune paper here and their archives and just write down all of these homicide sites throughout the city. At that time, and when I started this about 2008, New Orleans was the homicide capital of the United States. And of course, the United States, I think, or maybe it's Mexico, was, heavily homicided. So I would write all these addresses down, and then I would map them on, I had maps that were sections of the city, and I would map them and locate them on these little maps, and then I would go out with my 8x10 camera, and I would drive around, make sure it seemed safe, and I would get out and take a photograph in that place. If they didn't have a specific address, then it would usually be a block, and I would find an image there. And then I bound these into ledgers, and so I would just do very minimal text to describe the person, the date, and the location, and any notes that were in the paper about the homicide, like stabbed, shot, multiple shots, so like that. So so that's sort of the process that I used, and I bound those into 6 large handmade volumes, and I had a viewing table constructed, and so these ledgers would be out on this viewing table, and people could come and just go through them, and it was very interesting when it showed here at Prospect 1, and that was, I don't even remember when that was, 2008 or 9 or something. I would go into the gallery, and I really didn't think people would look at those ledgers, but I would go in there, and every time I went in there, people would just be turning the pages and looking at them, and I'd kind of go up and maybe say something to somebody, and inevitably someone would say, my brother was murdered, my father was murdered, my sister, it was really moving to see this work exhibited in this place where people recognized places and to be able to memorialize. I've been working on a history project, and I recently, my mantra has been, we are trapped in history, and history is trapped in us. And so here at the end of history, where it seems like the end of history sometimes, there's a lot trapped in all of us. So it's bottomless, really, I guess. But that was my my gesture to try to memorialize some of these people who'd lost their lives to violence here.
Okay, thanks. Etty, January, whatever, would you like to talk about your work, about Cosmic Love, Cosmic Love, and
actually,
I joined this exhibition at the last stage. It's a part of the installation. The basic was floor work, and the letters were installed on the floor. It was in the gallery in Tel Aviv, and it was a large installation. The letters, I wanted to, I think, to express my archetypical attitude toward the globe. The globe, I personalized the globe, which is an issue that I worked with a lot of years, how the universe is a kind of a body, okay? And the personal subjectivity is personal. So how the personal and the collective is getting together. So this sentence was a kind of a blessing for the world during the pandemic days. It was my during the COVID days, and I couldn't go to the studio, so I worked with what I have at home, and it was basically the papier-mâché, and it was something very simple. But I felt I tried to bless, I tried to heal, I tried to send blessing to the world, to the global world, the essence of surviving not as just a subjective creature, but as I think archetypical artist person that look at the world in a very cosmic way, I think. Cosmic, personal, cosmic, and very, very physical even. The second version here in this exhibition, so the letters become a kind of a slogan. I try to give space, or a huge, endless space of even shouting in the space, or calling in the space, like to create some kind of a voice in the space, which I wanted that somebody will hear and will connect all the energies through the world, the nations, people all over the world. Many things happened since the COVID days. And here in Israel, it's even a kind of a catastrophe that is very sharp. So now I think that I think global shouting is not relevant for a moment, but and we have to deal with a lot of things here in the space, in the place. But basically, it's a universal problem. And love is a very, very essential subject, which I think that art can't be done without love, or without compassion. And art is not just to create desirable objects or commercial objects, or to gain power and gain status. Art for me is a transformative process. It is much more psychological and sociological and political and even spiritual. So my shout in the space, fragile cosmic cloud, is calling. It's like, in a way, it's a political calling for gathering all the moments of the possibility to be human, to be sensitive. So the beginning of this work began with the globe, which I wrote on it, fragile, or fragile en français. So I tried to, you know, to make to take the universe as a kind of an object, and the words as a kind of an object. The word fragile is an object for me, and I used to do it, to write it on walls. Even in Geneva, in a mezzanine gallery, I hanged it on the wall, on a canvas. First of all, the viewers enter to a fragile space. This is the essence of art for me, rather than powerful or very, very impressive spaces. So the moments of fragility are very important to me, and that's what I can give to this exhibition. Fragile, then power, then force.
Thanks to Etty. And from Cosmic Love to Cosmic Rift, יהודית, איתנו? יהודית?
כן, כן, now I hear you.
אז אם את יכולה לומר משהו על הקרע הקוסמי,
So,
Cosmic Love to Cosmic Rift.
so first of all, hello to everyone. My name is Yehudit, and I was very happy to hear my very good friends Etty, yeah. So because I felt like we, you know, in a way, like speaking the same vocabulary in the same language, so it's quite familiar. And so the two drawings that I choose when Avi invited me into this beautiful topic of exhibition was the two Cosmic Rift drawings. But for me, it always feels a bit strange, to be honest, just to speak as an artist about what we already did. And for me, I find it really interesting when I meet other artists and I feel their work. I'm personally curious to hear what is actually, I mean, what do we find as like a fascinating value with doing art? I mean, can we change something? Can we add something? And I can share just like personally that my focus, one of my focus in my art is of course traumatic experiences that for very, very simple understanding, as life taught me, was that if someone went through an overwhelming experience that was not fully digested or something that I couldn't fully digest and I was overwhelmed by, so I've noticed that something with common coherency between space, time, and rhythm was broken. And the question is, if something got broken there and reality becomes a bit more fragmented, the subject, so what is the role of art, or what is the power of the mute image as drawing, as sculpture, as whatever we do, to communicate information that was locked in us or got frozen in us as subject, a human being? So even the name of the drawings that that participate in this show deals with a very, very simple interest that I had for years, and still is with this, I would say, with this fragmented reality that things feels not fully coherent. And I was just thinking at the beginning of this Zoom that I couldn't really, I mean, there's a group there in the museum, there is a group here in the Zoom. I couldn't really hear technically, and I thought, oh, it's interesting. This is a classical situation when reality, when we don't feel fully synchronized with reality. And then the question is, what is exactly happening in those gaps, in these gaps, which is for me is a classical portrait of, I would say, a reality that we would call that was, you know, tremendously affected by collective trauma and by many individuals that experienced something that was just too much for their system. So I would say that my interest as an artist, and as well in these kind of drawings that are there, is to create kind of, I would say, maps through drawings that can describe the different layers that are not fully synchronized within the subject. And how, we can create a situation that a mute image like a drawing can communicate through an active substance. If it's a good work of art, obviously it will work. But if a mute image is able to communicate information that the subject is not able to communicate anymore, because if I would be able to communicate, obviously I would be a writer, or I don't know, I would give talks, or I would take, another medium as a creative person. But my deep interest in mute images is about their power to communicate information which somehow is beyond language. And I was always fascinated by this, and fascinated by more intense areas, like human beings that went through intense experiences. And some of this undigested life information was able to communicate it to me, even though I came from another culture, from another language, and I still got it. And more than that, I could feel touched, I could feel moved, and something happened to me. So I'm very much with this, the army of the people who produce this kind of mute images. And even though we are much slower, other people will say that, artists are, you need time. We all need time, But I think that what we are dealing with when we speak about trauma is on an ethical level, one of the most important tools that society needs. Society needs many people like us sitting in their bizarre studios and taking the time to feel, to listen, to contemplate. And by doing this, something is happening. So I'm interested, and I dedicate obviously a significant time of my life to do this kind of work. Sometimes the result is drawing, sometimes it's film, sometimes it's sculpture. But the power of the mute image that carries within its own body an active substance that can communicate something which is not verbal, which is not, and still the other can get it. And by him activating, witnessing, something is going on on a collective level, a much bigger scale. I'm fascinated, by these options. And in this exhibition, I just put like 2 out of 100 of these kind of maps that I call them drawing. And it's kind of like my profession became like, how can drawings can create kind of maps, subconscious maps that are actually following the traces that we cannot really verbalize, but they are there, and they can function as a witnessing of a reality that is not fully synchronized. Reality that, the setting is a structure that can definitely say something about what is happening when the relation between space, time, and rhythm are not anymore coherent. So I know that it sounds a bit abstract, but all of you are artists, so you, of course, know what I'm talking about. And the 2 drawings' name is Cosmic Creep. And for me, Cosmic Creep means that when so it's about when things are intense, and they can be intense. I mean, not only as Israeli, but at the moment as Israeli, they're quite intense. But when things are quite intense, like something is happening on the information that is on our, glasses, and the glasses that we look at reality through. And I've noticed that the more intense the undigestible life experience was, the deeper would be, the projection of this on someone else, but as well, my whole cosmic map, my cosmic setting will be affected by this. So I'm talking about the lack of synchronization between the individual life map and the cosmic, life map. I could elaborate about it hours, but maybe I will give the time to others. But for me, it's just fascinating to hear other artists sharing their own experience. I would say the very simple one, what is the role of this mute image within the context of trauma, memory, identity. I find it, I think it's very, very important and very, very powerful. Yeah. I hope I could answer to something, Avi.
Thank you. Marek, would you like to join us?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Suri, for having me to the exhibition, and Avi for your making this project work, and thanks for everybody that came here today. It's strange to do it in Zoom. I'm not a big talker anyhow, so do it like that. It's a bit strange. It's really. I don't know really what to say. I didn't really prepare any words.
You close the Pinocchio and on the rugs. Why you are using rugs?
I don't know. I don't have any whys. I'm not a person of plans. I mostly react to things. I'm very intuitive. I'm just doing things. I like things which are in motion, and so very spontaneously react to material. And if something grabs me, I just jump on it, because it's not doesn't happen every day that something really surprises you and you like it, and things are jumping all around. But if there's already something that I like and I love it, so even if it's a material or technique, I just go for it. And I've met this machine. This machine met me. We have a strong relationship now. This machine and me, that stuff done. And something about me moved from painting to textile through a memory that probably I already had in the past. And for me, it's funny to talk about memory, and especially to relation to my work. I don't know. I don't really choose my memories. My memories are what they are, and they make me what I am. Something about me. I mean, there are so many memories, but remember so little about them. And those small little memories, they are what make me what I am. So it's really strange, because I mean, in one day, there is so many things that are happening, but we remember so little. Those little things make us who we are. So it's really bizarre to talk about memory and identity. I remember only little from my childhood, but this is who I am. It's really weird. I mean, connected to a trauma. I mean, I don't know. To be alive is to be a traumatic person, I suppose. And that's life. It's hard. We are what we are. I am what I am. There is in my carpet. It's related to a specific trip that I make with my girlfriend, with my partner. We were in Italy just before the Corona, and I think it's Firenze. It's full of Pinocchios. And it looked like this army of cloning Pinocchios are hunting us. They're everywhere. And I find it spooky. And when we came back to Israel, I started to do these drawings of those Pinocchios. And actually we did this kind of together, created these images out of memories which we shared together to make this work. Yeah, I think that's it. Sorry? That's it. I don't think I have anything else to say.
יש פה את אדם, יש פה את רובן, אוקיי, את אדם. שנראה מי האנשים שנמצאים. פיוטר. שלום פיוטר. Good evening. Pewter. Hello, Pewter. Pewter.
Hi, it's Piotr.
Good evening. Piotr.
You can call me Peter.
Sorry? Oh. Good evening, Piotr. I hope I pronounce your name correct. Can you tell us about your video art that collecting several points of memories?
Yeah, it was a long time ago, so it's a kind of a time travel for me. But it was 2012, I believe, that Marta addressed me that there is an artist coming from the United States, Robin Levy, who is here, and that there is well, probably I shouldn't say all that because yeah, right. It's an homage to her mother and her experience in Łódź. So there was a need of creating a film, a documentary film. So I just decided to go on with my memory, that is connected to the city of Łódź and the district of Bałty that I was born in and raised. And actually it was also during the war, the ghetto. And my memories were revolving around the building of Helena Wolf Hospital, a place that is now like deserted and kind of ruined in the middle of some renovation, but stopped. And it was a hospital after war for, I was born there, actually. Yeah, so like a lot of people from Łódź from the 70s in the 20th century were born in this hospital. And I just decided to go on with some very intimate memories.
Exist, yeah? This hospital doesn't work anymore.
No. It's probably not functioning since the 90s of the previous century. But then there was a plan of making it into a hotel, preserving the antique, substance, the architectural substance. But due to some misunderstandings with the city of Łódź president and city council, it was sort of stopped, and the building remains in its kind of semi-ruined form, still having the original facade from the 20s of the 20th century, but inside it's in the midway of becoming a hotel. It was, of course, a place that people were, how to say, they were entering illegally and destroying the substance of the building. So now it's like, something in between. And of course, it's also a monument of history. And during the Second World War, it was an important, how to say, the ghetto governing people had they were having their office there in this building. Well, but the thing in the film is about my memories from different parts of my life. And I just, in this 2012, when I was asked to film something, I just come into terms that my life revolved around this place, this hospital, because there is a marketplace where I was trading books in the 80s as a teenager. I had this nanny that lived near, and all that is in the film was just around like 500 meters around this building. What can I tell you? The funny part is that there is a phrase, all we have is memory, that is written on a railing. It was really there. I came with my camera and doing this memory project and to film about my memories. And I just met this, somebody wrote it, just in the place where we found the wallet with my friend, like 30 years ago, 30 more years ago. So really, like, it looks like if I had written this in the place, but not, it was there, which is amazing. All we have left is memory. Somebody have written this, actually, and I filmed it.
And may I jump in real quick, Avi? Can I just jump in real quick? We did not discuss the location. Marta and I had little understanding of the location that Piotr had determined. We must screen his movie outside at night. And it turns out that that hospital is where my aunt, who is now 86, was born, in that hospital. So over 70 years separate, two different places in the world, and we are sort of bonded through this random shared experience.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Ruben. Ruben, you took a long journey to the back history of Casablanca. Can you tell us about your work? יכול לצרף אלינו? כן.
I didn't hear the question.
שומע אותי? ראובן?
אוקיי, כן, פשוט שומעים בקושי. שומעים אותי עכשיו, כן?
עכשיו אתה שומע אותי?
כן, כן, אני שומע אותך יותר טוב עכשיו.
אוקיי.
Okay, hi to everybody. It was a pleasure to meet you here on this Zoom and to participate to this exhibition. I want to thank especially to all the work that we had with Sורין for a long time around this project. I'm just presenting there in the museum just a fragment of project. The name is about Busbir. Busbir was a quarter, a red light, a closed quarter that was created by the French in the 20s of during the 20th century, during the 20s, and it was especially programmed to be a closed quarter for prostitution for the soldier at the beginning, for the French soldier there in Casablanca, a soldier that came from from France and other parts of the empire, the French empire, but step by step, Busbir became a model for other quarters of consecrate to prostitution all over the French Empire, and was start to be a model, very important model for the kind of using sex workers, and my project is dealing especially with Jewish prostitution in this quarter. In Busbir, this quarter, there were a lot of Berbers. Berbers are Arab and Muslim prostitutes, but there was also a part of the quarter that was specially created for Jewish prostitutes and also for other European prostitutes. So I'm dealing with the relation between all the population, the Jewish, the Muslims, and the Christians prostitute there. And my project is in parallel. One part is theoretic project, and another part it's I'm working on drawings and paintings on utensils, on plates, on metal parts, decorative objects, where I try to understand or to create a kind of relation with not my real memory, because I was born in Algeria, and I moved to I was 4 old when I moved with my family to France, to Marseille, and later at 14 we moved to Israel. So I have not really a lot of memories from North Africa, but these years, it was the 60s, was a kind of war, a very, very violent war in North Africa, Algeria especially, the independence war, but it wasn't called a war, just eventments. There was very, very violent, a million of victims, a lot of blood from 2 sides, from the French and the colonial, from Jewish also, and for sure all the Muslim and Algerian people who suffer very, very much. I've never been in Casablanca. I've never visited Busbir quarter, but when I start this project around the Jewish people from North Africa, the project was called the Baboons, and I start to paint and to draw baboons and situation of the Jewish people here in Israel. That was the first point that I start from, and then I discover this quarter and the Jewish prostitute that was a kind of attraction. Busbir was at this time a kind of a park for tourism from all over the world. It was very, very famous. Busbir got a lot of publicity from all over the world, and the tourists from everywhere was coming to visit Busbir. Busbir was kind of a recreated Orientalist quarter. There was hotels, cabarets, cabarets, bars, dance, restaurants, etc., where the tourists were invited to feel what is the Oriental life on one side, and if they want to, also to be clients of this prostitute who works there. There was a few hundred of prostitutes. They work very, very hard. They start from part of them at the age of 10, just 10. The idea was to create an ideal brothel, yes, for prostitution. They're very hygienic, where the prostitute, the woman, was closed like in a prison for all their life. That started, as I said, there were prostitutes at the age of 10 to the age of 25, where a time where they are being too old to continue their work. They was too used, and so they leave Busbir. Busbir was a kind of shame also for the Moroccans after the independence, and also for the French. So every memory of Busbir was destroyed, and also the Moroccan from one side and the French people from the other side tried to completely distract this motel and the memory of this park of prostitution, a kind of international park of sexual tourism, where people came from all over the world to visit Busbir and to have a sensation, a touch of Orientalism there. There were also, I think, a very interesting thing, an hotel for artist people who came there to paint the life and the exotic feeling and vision of Busbir. That was especially for artists who were invited there. So from my point of view, the project of Busbir just is not finished. I'm working on Busbir till now, and it's an ongoing project. And from my point of view, what is interesting is that it's a kind of working on memory or testimony of something, of events that wasn't really there when they happen. So it's kind of work, personal work on myself, on my memory, my personal memory. Also, the city of Marseille, where I grew before immigrate to Israel, was quite close to Casablanca, I think. It's a port with a lot of soldier marines for all over the world. And when I was a child there, a lot of prostitution everywhere. So it was impossible to go to school without meeting in the street a prostitute and a sex worker, cabarets, etc., etc. That was when I was 6, maybe, or 8. It was a kind of something that was questioning myself or my parents, what these girls, what these women are doing here while they are standing in the street, what they are waiting for. And this project, yes, is about my personal memories, trauma also, but also is related to the politics and the situation here in Israel. Because I think that also the Oriental population, the Oriental people here, women especially, have experienced situations that are quite close to the colonial vision of the woman by the French in Morocco, in North Africa, in Algeria, in Tunisia, etc., etc. And the reference between the situation is very, for me, is particularly interesting. And so that's what I have to say. But the part of the project that I present in the museum is it's really just a fragment of all this project, and I hope to present this project more largely and more widely as soon as possible. Thank you very much. Thank you, Avi and Sororin.
With pleasure. Is this quarter still exist today? The quarter
no, was completely destroyed by the Moroccan people. It was exactly the same, all the North Africa towns and cities, because the French army, especially the army, the beginning was from the army, create brothels and quarters and close houses, and red house all over the empire, all over North Africa, but not just North Africa, in the east also. But one of the first thing that the Algerian people and the Moroccan people do when France quit the North Africa, the French, it was to destroy all the memory of these places and prostitution. It was really a very, very deep shame for the Arab and Muslim people, for the Moroccan, for the Algerian, the Tunisian people, to remember this trauma, because the idea of the colonial empire of the French people was to first to win the women in every territory, and they say that. They say that if you have the woman, then you have everything. You have all the land is yours if you have the woman. And so to create this place, to force the woman to be nude, to present them in the postcards everywhere. It was very, very common in France during all these years. To find postcards of Algerian and Jewish women also, who were completely nude and presenting their body, absolutely the contrary of what of the modesty that everybody know of the Arab woman and the Muslim woman, yes. But it was presented as a very easy woman, very attractive, open. So, and the ideology of the army was to invite French people to come here and install there and to colonize all North Africa and Africa. So one of the first tips when the French army leaves Algeria and Morocco was to destroy all the memory of this quarter, completely destroy the streets, etc. The prostitutes there were very, very, it was very cool because they just get out of with nothing and they just take them out. They change the name of the street there and they try really to
That's everywhere.
to destroy every memory of this path and this history of the colonialism.
Thank you, Ruben, and I like very much from the beginning your project of industrial culinary sex industry, and I think nobody knew anything about it, and it reveals a new part of your personal memories, but of our collective memories and trauma. Thank you very much, Ruben.
Thank you very much, Sורין.
Marta? Nice to meet you. Do you hear us? Do you hear us, Marta? We don't hear you.
You don't hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. Yes?
yes. Hi, Marta.
Hi, let me know. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay.
So can you fill the gaps from Lodge to New Orleans? Because with my talks with Robin, you are one of the main instigators, if I can of the exhibition in Lodge, and you follow it in New Orleans. So tell me how it happened, because Robin came with an idea and then it started. How come?
That was kind of, it depends what do you believe in. It can be perceived as an accident, some kind of gravitation, or maybe a destiny. Because I was into oral history. I am in an association that is connected with community archivism. So we dig into every layer of which history, including the Jewish part of the history. And I had a friend that she is a dancer now, and somehow through other connections, through the international art community, through the friend who's a dancer, and got the email from Robin, I got the Robin contact because my friend decided that there is nothing for her here, like she work with different topics and tools, and she just asked me, like, do you maybe will be interested in such a cooperation? So that really, it seems to be an accident, because Robin really made a long way of communicating with many people before she was connected with me through all these people, like in a chain communication. And at that time, it was true, I was a PhD student. I left academy without a PhD, but I had some memory memory studies background, so I had this more like distance approach, and actually Robin was my first art cooperation, but we somehow also like we clicked intuitively after the visit in April 2012, and we really allowed to the project to have this community impact, and also how you say, you know, we really did the first two projects really had very different frame, very different tempo and rhythm, and also, you know, the patterns and mechanisms, everything was very different, because we decided, because we are very grounded in our cities, in our communities. We did not have a lot of money, so we also were you know, pushed because of these material reasons, and we decided we will just allow things to happen. We will watch the response of the artists, for our artists, you know, for the call, and we will see how it will work and what we can do first in Łódź and then in New Orleans. And in Łódź, people really responded in a way that was, I think, surprising for us, because offering them in a call the memories of Anne Levy, Skorecki-Levy, and the memories of the pre-war Łódź citizens, I think we had this feeling that they may offer something like some historical project. I don't know, like it's hard to remember what we thought at that time, but I think we had this intuition that it might go more into the historic topics. But a lot of artists responded with their own memories, their own memory from the childhood, or the family memories, somehow inherited memory also. So it became much more personal, and it was very emotional, I think, also because community effort, like all my association help in the first part in Łódź, and all the community that is around Robin helped in New Orleans. So we really felt a lot of this fluent, very warm energy that came from just people meeting people and digging into their personal stories, with the conscious that every personal story is connected with the collective memory, and it's both connected and it's kind of mirroring, you know. But also a lot of people obviously had this need to tell whatever they had time to digest, how it was said here, to somehow speak about for the very first time about some part of the family or personal or city memory that is not so easy in terms of, you know, feeling inside feelings. So like the third project, this thing that is happening in your place now, for me is very it's still very moving, that it's, you know, it has some kind of continuation, and but also it's inspiring, everything what I'm reading about it and what I hear now from you. But with other hand, I really feel detached, because when you compare it to the first experience of the first two projects, we were very much connected. Also, we had chance to meet physically, and now not only you are so far away, but also we had this experience of COVID, and then the Russian invasion in Ukraine, that we really, like in Poland, we really, it was really a lot of us, it still is. So I feel it's it's very, very intense. At the same time, I feel I'm very detached from whatever is happening, but not in a bad way. It's kind of the distance for me that I can just, you know, watch it from a distance.
Thank you, Marta. I want to add something what you've said about the stages of the exhibition. You are right. I think it was an experimental act in Lodge, and then in the Orleans it became much more crystallized, and now it is an institutional stage. So it developed. I think you mean that, and I put it in other words, but you're right. So thank you, Marta.
You had any thought of about the Plateau cave when you create the cave, a childhood cave? You hear me? Yes. Sorry. Okay.
Yes. And also, we like very much your sound piece. You wrote on Robin's mother, and thank you.
Okay. Hello, good evening, Courtney. Okay. Can you tell us about your conceptual work of research, archaeology of culture, like almost archaeology of culture of New Orleans, geological layers of New Orleans, about the water, the work from the water. You hear me? Do you hear me?
Is this for me, Courtney?
Yeah.
Yes.
You.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm having trouble hearing a little bit.
Okay, we're really impressed by your conceptual work of trying to make research of the layer of choose one quarter and you dig into the archives and whatever, and also you use historian person together. And you went back, you know, deep to the lower layer of the culture. Can you tell us something about the process and what pushed you to make it?
Yes, it's very nice to see you all, and this is an amazing experience. And I just want to say that this is fascinating for me just to hear so much more about the connection between trauma and place and how it plays out among all these different places and people, and to see Robin's vision actually happen in her epic journey and trying to get this work connected to a specific place, to Tel Aviv and to Israel, is really inspirational. There's so much to say. I mean, this has been a lot of information to take in, and the stories are fascinating. What I came to the project with was a very specific interest in the gallery where Robin showed the work in New Orleans. Antenna Gallery was a place that I was a founding member of, and it moved locations. So the new location was a historical building in an area of New Orleans that was outside of the French Quarter. So one aspect of memory in New Orleans I'm fascinated about is just the depth of it and the impossibility of holding, how difficult it is for people to hold so much information and memory at the same time as you are in the world making new experiences and new memories. And I think that one of the artists here, Yehudit, talked about the gaps, and this piece is a lot about the gaps. One thing we wanted to do was recreate the history of this piece of property, not just the building, but the property itself, the land itself. And we went back into the archives in the city government, and we found property deeds. We did a lot of research into the previous owners, and we discovered that the land that the gallery is on used to be, at one point, the farthest written records we could find back were that it was a piece of an orphanage, and it was for the orphans of mostly the American Civil War. And that was like in the 1860s. And previous to that, it was a plantation. It was not, the building is not on the river. It's several blocks away from the Mississippi River, but that was a piece of a giant plantation property. And then, I worked with a historian who is not with us today, Anita Yasho, and she helped me navigate that whole process. And she did her PhD on civil rights, American civil rights movement in New Orleans and in the neighborhood that the gallery is located in specifically. And that neighborhood was a pivotal point, a very important place in the history of civil rights, because it is one of the sites of where a school was forced to integrate to allow Black children to attend in the 1960s. And there was one child in particular named Ruby Bridges. She still lives here in New Orleans, who integrated the school. And there's a famous Norman Rockwell painting about her. But that whole history of the neighborhood is something that I have lived in the area long enough to see waves of people come through the neighborhood, and to see the waves of people who know nothing about the history of the neighborhood. And just the scope of seeing those changes is something that it's hard for people to, encapsulate and bring and to keep that information in their mind and to bring it into their lives and into their interactions and into their daily dealings in the neighborhood. So Anita and I really wanted to take all this information, which are just facts, and put them on a table where people could sit down and discover and piece together the puzzle of their part of that neighborhood. They could find the section that they were familiar with and bring their own stories to that. And during that opening, we had amazing interactions. It was such a pleasure to see so many people come and sit down and just kind of dive into the material and then start talking to each other and making connections with each other and telling stories about their memories and experiences of the neighborhood, and finding the connections to those stories in the artifacts that are spread out on the table. So that was my approach to trying to think about how the personal, people have mentioned how the personal and the scope of history intersect and collide. And that was that approach of having the piece be interactive was one way of us trying to get people to have a personal relationship with that complex and important history of the neighborhood and that site where the gallery is located.
Thank you. אתה רוצה לשאול את אדם? Adam? Hi, good evening, Adam. Do you hear me?
Yeah,
Adam?
all done.
Adam, hi, how are you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You hear me? Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so we would like to hear you about your work. Why you choose 161? Or it
You
was,
know, this was the special project just for first step of memory project in Lodz. But when I listen you guys, and I understood that memory project is first about communities, different communities. So what Courtney said and Martha said, Robin came with another community to Lodz, and then Lodz came to New Orleans with also the vision of another community, with a past and the future and realities. And also, of course, Baram is in more institution than other locations like Wschodnia Gallery or Antenna House. But there is also the part of the community because it's a kibbutz around. And I found during the opening the small example how community exists, but really happened. The opening and the day before, and your friends, how exists the hospitality about art and this exhibition. So when I opened the idea to show the photographs with my mother, now I found that it was also about story about communities, very local, since the orphan house when my mother was child. Then during the Second War in the labor camp in Berlin. Then first she found the international communities of slaves from different countries. And the best friend was the Ukrainian women, which worked with her few years there. And now what is coming to Łódź after the Russian occupation, then for example, to Łódź came thousand women with babies, older and younger, without husband, because her husbands are usually fighting in army in Ukraine. So it's coming another memory which will be created for next generation. And of course, artists first are the member of the local communities. And the art for me can exist without relations to local communities and local people, and the relations between what's going around us as an artist, you know, doesn't matter that where we are working. And after Baram, we did with our common friends, Yakov Hefetz, the international project at Wschodnia Gallery about nothing come with good out of it. So posters and video art, and really important because now, like Yakov sent me a letter yesterday, this project still going on, and because of the situation in Israel and the fighting about democracy, what we try to do in the past, but without this result, what probably you guys in Israel will do in the future. But this is also the questions about the role of artists. You know, of course, the art can change. You know, the political situation, but we are the member of the communities, and the communities can change the world and our realities.
Thanks. אגב, אתה לומר משהו בעברית. Okay, Adar Gad.
My two paintings that they are part of a project, huge project that I did about looted art and looted books that wounded by the Nazis during the Second World War. I dig for 2 years, around 2 years in archives, and I took inspiration from photos that I found in archives, and I decided to handle the collective memory that we have here in Israel, the people that grew up in Israel, have like a memory from the Holocaust that in our DNA, collective memories about the Holocaust. My grandparents came from Poland before the Second World War, but I grew up here and I grew up with images, horrible images from the Holocaust, like I felt that I passed the Holocaust. And I decided to look about this memory through objects. Don't touch the photos of the people or the camps, and I decided to choose to look at the things through the objects and through the through the places. And during my work, I looked at and I tried to understand why it was so important to the Nazis to wound and take the books and the artwork and try to cut the culture, not just to kill the people, and to cut the culture, and why it was so important. And unfortunately, it's still actual.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Somebody would like to ask the artist or say something? Okay, so we are coming to the end of this talk, and I would like to thank all the artists and especially to Robin Levy and the people who joined us, and they were supported the exhibition and producing the catalog, and of course thanks to the artists here and all the people here in this small conversation. Thanks to Nelly that helped.
Without Neely, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, without Nelly, it wouldn't work. And thanks to the whole artist, with heart, with all my heart.
Thank you.
And I hope we will do something in the future, something interesting again.
Yes, I hope that this continues.
Yes, Ruben, we are.
Oh, just thank you to everyone, and particularly those who are in the gallery. We understand the existential times that are more heightened now than ever. We are praying for you, and we take instruction from how y'all are in the streets, and you will be, you are not tolerating the intolerance, and I do hope that we can regroup another time during an easier space in your existence. I thank everybody for everything you've done for this effort, the supporters, the artists, just everyone has done an enormous amount of work. And thank you for allowing us to build our own international community, our own international artist and creative group. And I hope that we can continue building together.
And we are producing on these days the catalog. It is on the print. When it will be ready, we'll send it to you. So thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Toda.
you. Thank
Bye.
you. All the artists, I didn't see you before. It's the first time, and I hope not the last time we shall meet and work together. Thank you, everybody and everyone, and we'll continue from here to our political affairs. I hope you don't have such. So, good evening.
Thank you, Sורין.
Bye, Suri.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
יאללה. תודה רבה לכם.
תודה רבה.